Peace, peace.
Gang, gang.
Can't see who's
Oh,
Peace, Brian, Ashley,
yeah. Peace.
Imani, Cushion, Kush.
Kush, kush.
Chantel, Gerald. Gerald always rocking with us.
Brother Gerald. Brian, what's going on, brother?
All right, ready to get started.
Okay, good. Blessings. Can everybody hear us? Kind of trying to keep my voice down because one of our children sleep. Can y'all hear us though? Thumbs up if y'all can hear us perfectly. Feel like I'm whispering.
Loud and clear.
Okay, bet.
Thank you.
Bet. Well, once again, thank you guys for coming through and sharing this space with us. We really do appreciate it, especially at this sacred time that we're at, to be able to gather our energy together is really a precious thing. So I'm gonna open this up with a slight prayer, as any type of spiritual ceremony will commence with. So go ahead and close your eyes. That's gonna be loud. Go ahead, close your eyes if you feel it, and let's go ahead and get into this. Please allow us on our path to lift our hearts to the highest cause. Allow us to be the hands and feet of the ageless wisdom on this path. Allow us to be our ancestors' keepers as well as our brother and sisters' keepers. Allow us to truly come to know wisdom and truly work that wisdom out on this earth plane. Allow us to connect in soul family and connect by fire through spiritual bonds and continue and commence the great work that is ahead of us. Allow us to transition into this shift of ascension and shift of DNA, activating dormant DNA. Allow us to commune with nature with all of our heart. Allow us to commune with humans in right relationship with all of our heart. Allow us to commune with all kingdoms and queendoms, known and unknown. Allow us to use our heart, lift our hearts up to the highest cause. Ashe, Aho.
And so it is.
And so it is. All right, so family, our topic for right now is Ascension. So it's so much that could be said about Ascension, but we're gonna just hit on a couple of brief points. And we didn't actually talk about what we were gonna, how we're gonna build on this together. It's kind of actually just us free flowing with our own stuff and our own prerogatives. So I'm gonna ask you, Key. Boo's like, no.
You don't got your whole work.
I know I got a little bit of notes just to keep me guided. But yeah, I'm just gonna ask you just what does ascension mean to you?
Ascension. That's a good question. How do I formulate that into words? Because it's really actually like a state of continuous being.
Yeah.
Meaning to move past a certain state, evolving past a certain patterns, behaviors, actions, and thoughts, and getting closer to your divine self and tapping into the angelic energies and higher vibratory energies, making contact with ascended masters, with spirit guides, with your animal guides, your spirit totems, your shadow totems, and just being in tune with symbolic messages that are given to us on a day-to-day basis. So as you were saying, if the portals of you become more opened up to new beginnings, to eternity, immortality, and you have a deeper and a more deeper and more serene state, and you value your life and other beings' lives on a completely different level.
Facts. So just to piggyback off of what Queen was saying, my own perspective, ascension essentially occurs when you purify all of your bodies and you develop permanent contact with your soul, and to live as the soul on this planet, as well as attuning your own vibratory rate to the vibrational rate of the planet Earth, who the planet Earth obviously is an entity whose consciousness has the body of a Earth. You know what I'm saying? So it's actually deeper than just saying tuning yourself to the Earth, because when we hear the Earth, we just think of the Earth and its physical body. But never forget that the being that's ensouling this physical planet, its body is the Earth, but its consciousness is almost unfathomable, okay? So Ascension basically deals with your awareness and your presence and you living as a soul on this planet. And so where does the Ascension work begin and where does it end, right? What can be ascended is your vehicles, your mind, your emotions, your physical body. But you have a principle within you that even the word ascension doesn't describe, because it's beyond all scope of understanding, the self that's within, okay? So in so many words, a lot of us, matter of fact, everybody that's watching this right now has taken downloads and upgrades and shifted their energy into ascension purely because of the degree to which you live from the heart. You know what I'm saying? If you are tuned into this right now, you more than likely are living from the heart, or predominantly living from the heart, okay? And so when we get into talking about ascension, it becomes very important to talk about the ascension of the earth as well, because we are organisms that ride along the earth. You know what I'm saying? We are cells. The whole human kingdom are actually a composite of cells and energy tied uniquely to the earth. So when the earth, because the earth is going through a solar initiation of sorts, the earth is going through its own path of absolute sonship. And so when the earth's consciousness expands into all directions and penetrates higher dimensions, the people who had their energy tuned to the earth also shift into higher dimensions and also shift into higher frequencies. You feel me? You see how that works? So when you, as a light worker, shadow worker, seer, magi, psychic, all of these things, conform your small will and bend it into planetary will, you make a link. You fuse your lower power with the higher power. So when you bend your will in conformity with the planetary will, you fuse your lower power to a higher power. And the beauty of that is that the earth, her consciousness, or its consciousness as an androgynous being, is fusing its will and bending its will into conformity with the solar logos, or with the solar system, the consciousness whose body is the solar system. Okay? So ascension occurs when you jack your frequency into the vibrational rate of the planet Earth. Because remember, the planet Earth is going through an ascension as well. And if you are hooked into the earth, this means that you are automatically going to ascend as well. Okay? So anybody, if you have elements of yourself that aren't in vibration with the level of the earth, those frequencies are going to fall by the wayside. You know what I'm saying? All of the repressed energies and repressed traumas and stuff like that, they're going to continue to surface until they're clean. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a law of cause and effect. It's a law of karma that all debts in nature are going to be repaid. Okay? So to get into it briefly, to make it simple, because in my mind it's complex, but right, the truth is really simple, right? So I'm gonna just explain how Ascension works in my perspective using the 4 elements, okay? But for the sake of balance, you got anything to add on to that or interject?
No, you can keep going.
Okay, cool. All right, so how Ascension works based upon your mastery of the 4 elements. 4 elements obviously being earth, air, water, fire, right? Those are the 4 elements, okay? And so your mastery of the earth deals with your maintaining and cleansing and the exercising of the physical body, right? So on the first level, the very first initiation is taken when you cleanse your body, because you gain dominion over your body. You gain dominion over nature. And if you are still in the business of doing self-gratifying activities and giving in to every passing desire that happens, you are basically giving your energy away. You're going to need this energy. I'm going to explain why a little bit later on. You're going to need all of this energy. You need all of your energy in terms of the ascension that's happening. So the first initiation occurs when you gain mastery over your physical body. And the way that you gain mastery over your physical body is by feeding it the most high vibrational foods possible. And so the most high vibrational foods on the planet is raw foods, fruitarianism, fasting, and then people who predominantly live off of prana. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So prana at this time finds its most vital expression for people who eat physical food and fruit. There's no solar radiation higher than the fruit kingdom. You know what I'm saying? In a fruit, you get structured oxygen, you get structured water, you get music, because it's also a musical note. We just made a post talking about how the birds set up the vibrations in the springtime for plants to blossom and flower. And don't you know that all of these apples and oranges and stuff like that, they got the codes of nature. So it's not just the light codes coming from the sun that funnels through the plant. It's actually the birds and the animals singing praises to creation within inside of that very fruit. You know what I'm saying? So the very first thing that we have to do in order to take that initiation is to get our diet down pat, because that is the earth. You know what I'm saying? In the Vedic system, they call the physical body the Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha. Kosha means sheath, and Annamaya means body made from food. The body made from food. Also, the Annamaya Kosha is also termed your ancestral body, right? It's your ancestral body because you inherited from the very first primeval intelligences that walked this earth, right? So it's your ancestral body. So the very first thing that we have to do is revert our diet back to that paradisical lifestyle that we had in the sacred garden, where we had nothing but fruit, flower essences, and pure unadulterated air. You feel what I'm saying? All right. And so that's one level of the earth. The next level of the earth, mastering earth, is cleansing your environment and cleansing your atmosphere and engaging the environment. Because we can sit up here on the computer and stuff like that in these box-shaped homes and, you know what I'm saying, with all this electro-smog pollution and stuff like that. But a law of creation dictates that every organism has to engage in its environment in a beneficial manner in order to keep its continuity alive, right? So cleansing your atmosphere and engaging the environment, it basically looks like you picking up trash, you getting rid of trash, even on a psychic level. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us use stuff like sage and Palo Santo to get our aura right and stuff like that. But we're actually guardians of space, just like we're guardians or stewards of the earth. So it deals with you projecting pure thoughts of love, pure thoughts of oneness, pure thoughts of holiness into the space, because everything feeds everything. essentially. You know what I'm saying? You think a thought of a person, that thought is a thing, and it goes on to fly and help and mold whoever you're thinking about. You think a negative thought about somebody, obviously by magnetism, sheer magnetism, it's going to latch on to that person. They're going to think of you, you going to think of them, and it's going to be a cycle. And you dictate how well that cycle plays out based upon the quality of your thought. So you're going to jack in to the electromagnetic grid of the earth by earthing, by taking deep breaths in nature, and by hugging trees and blending your consciousness with the plants and with nature. You know what I'm saying? My man, Haru Major is on here, and he was talking about, creating thought forms, creating elemental entities based upon the quality of your thought. You know what I'm saying? You can create entities that are a merger or a marriage or have sex, essentially, with the plant kingdom, trees. You can create entities based upon human consciousness and plant consciousness, and that goes on to create an entity that will help you. You can create an entity that blends your human consciousness with the crystalline consciousness of the mineral kingdom, and that creates an entity. You can create an entity that has the human consciousness blended with animal consciousness, and that goes on to create an entity. You know what I'm saying? So these are all aspects of mastering the earth around you. And another aspect of that too is the economic use and appropriation of your money. You know what I'm saying? Because money, as we know, is still crystallized spiritual energy. So your wise application of the laws of money still mean everything to your spiritual path. Again, because it's earth, it still represents your resources. You know what I'm saying? And so another level or another way to bring the physical body under control is by movement, simple movement. You know what I'm saying? Now, y'all can type in comment, but how many of y'all have just done some shit like when y'all was just like, you know how you got solitude and you just in the house and you just doing different shit like that? How many of y'all have done different yoga postures and yoga movements, and then y'all see somebody else, oh, this is called the Devanagari, da 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 da, and you like, nigga, I already been done that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, y'all got a name for this shit? Cool. Like, how many of y'all have done that? I say, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So the movement, when you have movement, dance, yoga, all of these things connect to your soul on another level. Because what you're doing by making these geometric movements is that you're cleansing the space around you. You're dissipating the clouds that are around your aura. And when you clean out your aura, you allow more light to come in. These higher masters, ascended beings, these downloads, these revelations, and the inner wisdom is allowed to flourish and develop effortlessly by you cleaning the space. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why you have a lot of our cultures. We are very sensual. We move a lot. You know what I'm saying? And because we just got a culture connecting to our soul. You know what I'm saying? And it's so funny because, like, I'm not even hating on India or yoga or anything like that. But right now in this day and age, a lot of the consciousness have shifted to India as the seat of spiritual knowledge. You know what I'm saying? But every so often during a certain age, it'll shift to a civilization. And the beauty about the African science and about the Native American science is right now the planet is not even ready for the real shit that's happening with the African science and with the indigenous Native American science. You know what I'm saying? Because during each age, your mind is open to receiving a certain amount of knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's very important to make sure that you get that water, you get that fresh sunlight, you get the interaction with nature, you get the movement and the exercise and the dancing and the yoga. Because one level of it is to obviously speak like deity, talk like deity, and move like deity. You know what I'm saying? And this is a very, very, very sacred science. So personally, on a practical level, like one tip that I give to y'all is that I love to study mythology and ancient gods and goddesses. And I look at the posture that they have in pictures. You know what I'm saying? Because when you mimic the posture of anybody or anything, you penetrate into their astral and psychic forces. So if I go like this, if I hold this shit for about an hour or 2 hours, bruh, you open up a whole nother energetic grid system, penetrating into the energy of that deity who did it. You know what I'm saying? And likewise, I would never recommend you guys repeat the mantra or songs of people who are on a low vibration, or do the dances of people or movements of people who are on a low vibration, because the law is still the same. You know what I'm saying? It's a pendulum effect. So we want to use the higher law against the lower laws. So we want to speak like the deity. We want to think like the deity, and we want to move like the deity. And that's how we instill the deity in us. And then after a certain level, that deity, you, the inner you, is actually going to awaken from its sleep and like really put your whole lower nature under the control, because you've atrophied your lower self. You've atrophied your lower self. Matter of fact, I'm not even gonna say you atrophied your lower self. You domesticated your animal. That's the difference. You know what I'm saying? But let me pass the rock to Boo.
To Boo. You was on fire.
To Boo Boo.
I was like, yes. You tapped in. You spoke about a lot, especially as it relates to being in tune with the earth. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And having dominion over your physical body. Because, which is why we find on this dimension, we are so basically engaged with so many different temptations and desires that we can find ourselves in. You know what I'm saying? Because the dimension is calling for us to see whether or not we're going to engage in it, or whether we're going to stay true to our higher self. Right. You know, and if we can't have any control over those day-to-day temptations, we won't be able to access and have, you know, true true appreciation for higher levels of wisdom and higher levels of knowledge.
Exactly.
You know, because then when we think we got something, then we start to use that in a manipulative and controlling way, which is why in so many different religious texts you see that you know, God is teaching this certain thing, or like they'll use one person to embody, you know, God, right? And then they'll always mention that the devil also knows that information as well. In almost all religious texts, there's always the lower vibratory energy, or devil, or evil, or Satan, whatever you want to call it, that knows that information as well, letting us know that you can know all you want. Right. You can read all you want, you can tap, you can eat all you want, you can abuse all your body, abuse other people all you want, but that's not going to help you to get to true righteousness. It's not going to help you to get to true ascension. It's not going to help you to be tapped in to a higher frequency. Yeah. And true people who can really see energy are going to be able to know that and see that. So you can see a lot of these, you know, popes or priests and different things like that, or pastors or ministers or people who are leaders of different cults and stuff. They have these followers, but if you truly see with the lens of a higher frequency from like that, you tap into that. Oh, that's they're tapped into that lower vibratory or demonic energy kind of lens. You know what I'm saying? So this is why having control over the physical body is so important, because it allows you to be able to really and truly be in tune with divine wisdom and divine action and divine movement. So this kind of speaks to when a lot of those people who are leaders and have their followers, they get exposed and they're like, oh, but they really were a pedophile, or they really were this, or they really were that. You know what I'm saying? I'm bringing those things up because we have to see the reality of things. That you can know all you want, and it doesn't mean anything until you're actually applying that knowledge to your life. True ascension doesn't take place until application takes place. You know what I'm saying? That's living and walking in true divine wisdom. Exactly. You know, like you said, like we say all the time, that nothing is higher than truth besides true living. There it is. And so if you want to tap into true ascension, you have to live it. You have to breathe it. And this is why, you know, you might see videos and I might share, you know, challenges that I have or obstacles that I have, because not only do I not want you to have an illusion of me, but I don't need to have an illusion of myself. And in order for us to tap into true self-awareness, to really tap into the veil to remove the veil and really know thyself, you have to see yourself as the true being that you are.
Exactly.
You know, and that's going to take doing things like doing the physical work. So that is, eating the right foods.
Yeah.
That is being able to move and being. So this is, like when you see indigenous people and they dance and they're tapping into some real heavy science when they do that. I mean, they're building pyramids. They're getting astrological science. They're knowing things that people haven't, that needed technology, external tools to get this knowledge, because they're moving with divine insight. You know what I'm saying? And so by what they're eating, by, working with the elements, by moving and getting themselves in a trance to be able to tap into whole wealth.
That's sacred dance.
Exactly.
Like even in sacred dance, like just women like all over the world, you see how they be paying attention to it, and they point at us like we some degenerated beings. But that shit is a huge spiritual science.
Yes,
I can watch a video and see women or men dancing in whatever tribe, and I can feel that shit clear the space. It literally clears the space. That's a sacred science.
It really is. I'll give you an example. One time Siri, I remember this, Siri was, she had a fever. I don't know, she got in contact with somebody.
I remember.
And she had a 104 fever. Now, if you know anything about fevers, by the time you get over 103, that's like when they said it could be dangerous. You can have like some, irreparable brain damage, and people will want to give Tylenol or take them to the hospital and stuff like that. But I literally got a message, an ancestral message. He go outside. I went outside in nature. Nobody could see me. I'm not worried about whether anybody's judging or criticizing my movements. And I played some drumming and I danced. And I just got into this space. And I could feel all the energy around me. And I felt like I was dancing with a whole heap of queens. You know what I'm saying? I felt the energy taken on as a medicine woman. And I went back after I finished dancing. I don't even really remember like moving towards Siri, you know what I'm saying, like walking back towards her or anything like that. I just remember that instinctively, once I had developed enough energy, that I went to her body. And I kid you guys not, I went to her body and I just laid my hands just above her. And automatically she was like this. She just, I kid you not, she just came, like her eyes open, and she was like, "Mommy, I'm hungry." You know what I'm saying? And that whole time before, she was like this, like barely moving limbs, just like this. She was hit. And I was like, let me go get her in the bath to kind of just get her moving some more. And I got her, picking up stuff in the tub, playing toys, we're singing, we're, playing and dancing while she's in the tub. And just within a matter of minutes, she was better. She didn't need any kind of medicine, no hospital visit or nothing like that. And so that sacred movement is powerful. You know what I'm saying? So when we tap into our bodies in that way and we start to use it for healing, we start to use it to be able to ascend and transcend illnesses, you know what I'm saying, this ease, we tap into a wealth of knowledge that can actually change our lives. And change other people's lives, because that's essentially what we're all about, because we're interdependent beings, meaning that everything is depending on something while maintaining their individual, unique, entities, because we each have something to bring, we each have something to do, we each have a purpose, and we each are worthy. You know what I'm saying? So when we truly tap into that, that's how we're able to continue to ascend. So, and then when we're speaking to one another, are the words that we're hearing in our day-to-day interactions, are they disempowering us or are they empowering us?
Right.
Are they building us up or are they breaking us down? Now, something you guys might have saw a post I did before, but what I was saying, one of the posts I said before was that, like fire can burn things down, you know what I'm saying? And it cleanses and purifies the area. But if we do too much of that the land becomes barren, then it no longer has served its purpose. You know what I'm saying? So in that respect, we want to be mindful of what we're destroying. You know what I'm saying? In others and within ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So it's not to say that destroying doesn't need to take place, because it does. That's what I'm saying. It does need to take place. But if the people in your environment was dealing with your physical, overcoming that physical, overcoming the earth. The people in your environment are not lifting you up, are not strengthening who you are and what you came here to be, then it needs not be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta nip it in the bud. And a lot of, and this dimension also teaches us about tapping into connections as opposed to attachments.
Right.
You know, and if you have, the surefire way to find out you have attachments to people is if you fear not having them around. Mm-hmm. If you feel like you'll be lost without them. If you feel like that you have nothing or no one else. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So when we tap into understanding the differences, then we can ascend into the next level, right, beyond the physical. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Which is like the biggest part. Yeah. And even, you know, penetrating the walls of even to tap into the next level of ascension, you mm-hmm. know, when we're done with the physical. So, yeah.
I see.
So, we talked about Earth. I'm going to go wake up the baby. I'll be back.
Okay. Dad, you about to leave me. I ain't shit without a watch. I'm on there. No, I'm just messing with y'all. But yeah, so, and then what she said, like, I'm not even about to like brush over it. Like, it was just, I'm gonna have to like digest that when I get off here, actually. But it's so funny because y'all can see the dynamic of like how men and women work. You feel me? Like, my energy, obviously, is in right brain mode. You feel me? But for this, I wanted to be on some linear shit. But when she got on this joint, it was all spirals. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so as far as the next principle is concerned, because we had just talked about baptism by earth, which is ruling your lower nature, and ruling your earth, because we hit rock bottom. So learning how to rule your body. All right, so now we're going to get into the water element, the mastery of water. Okay, so with the water element and baptism by water is essentially speaking on the purification and organization of your emotional body, of your emotional nature, right? And so the way that we do this, you can achieve it obviously through several different means, but it happens through consciously feeling divine and emitting beneficial emotions. And what I mean by that is basically being on purpose. Everything that you think, everything that you feel, you want to consciously create those feelings within inside of yourself. You know what I'm saying? And the way that you do that is by living a structured and ordered life. At the end of your life, you want to be able to say, I was here, but I had a structured life program, and that shit led me all the way up here. You know what I'm saying? Through gradual advancements. But the way that you build on that is by having a structured day and ordering your energy in the right type of way. You feel me? Because we want to live in a phi-based culture. We want to live in a mathematical and geometrically sound nature. So you want to do stuff that connects with your soul. You want to do stuff that connects with your highest energy. You feel me? If that means going outside and, you know, playing with the children and stuff like that, and that's going to give you that chemical composition that gives you bliss each time, we need to do more of that. Because what happens is you actually end up programming the brain and creating new neural pathways and expanding your consciousness by revisiting those circumstances that you formed for yourself. You feel me? So the purification of the emotional body happens in different ways, but one of the main ways it happens is by revisiting old trauma, right? By revisiting old trauma and doing shamanic practices like shamanic breathing. And for those of y'all who don't know, it's different ways that shamans across different natures breathe. But one way that you could do it, just to be short and simple, is you just want to get your body relaxed. And this is just the example of shamanic breathing. You want to get your body relaxed. You want to lay on the floor and you want to breathe like this. And so you're going to be on the floor and you want to start off with intervals. The first interval, you want to play with it for about 5 to 10 minutes. Then the next time, 10 to 20 minutes. Then the next time, 20 to 30 minutes. And I kid you not, each time you do that, you're going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the dark recesses of your psyche, where you are going to have to confront shit. Because what's happening is that you are initiating endogenous entheogens, or your internal psychedelic systems. You know what I'm saying? So not to get too long-winded, but obviously moderation of your breath influences your endocrine gland system, as well as they influence your neurotransmitters, and they activate the precursors to DMT. So the more you do this, the more you are going to have an internal experience where you are thrown back on your own resources, back on your own understanding, and back on your own issues so that you can deal with them effectively. Okay? But as far as the purification of the emotional body, a very simple technique that we can do is recapitulation, shamanic soul retrieval. And you can have somebody who is a facilitator help you with this, or you can do it by yourself. But essentially, the pillars of the soul retrieval, or the pillar of recapitulation, is to basically create a dark environment where, you know what I'm saying, where it's pitch black, right? And what you want to do is you want to go like from the earliest time you can remember when you was born, right? From the earliest time you can remember to when you was born up till now, you want to pick and introspect each little instance where a trauma occurred. You know what I'm saying? You want to look at each instant where you can consciously remember a trauma has occurred. Now, the more you do this, the more you're going to remember, because the mechanism of the brain is to push, or the mechanism of consciousness is to push shit back down into, obviously, into your inner nature. But all you're going to do is you're going to identify key moments where you felt like you gave your power away, or where somebody took your power away, right? And so what that looks like is, I'm thinking of a situation where I was abandoned at 7 years old. I just have this pristine image of my father and mother getting into a fight, yelling, cussing, fighting each other, shit like that. And it all results, the whole crescendo climaxes in this nigga looking at me right before he was about to walk out the door. And then that nigga just rolls out. And I stay with that. My 7-year-old inner child stays with that shit. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come back through the door. Here we are, 30 years old, 25 years old, 40 years old. That moment in time right there, 7 years old, where he left out, and I feel that abandonment issue, whenever somebody triggers that shit, guess who's speaking? Guess who's talking? Guess who's qualifying that experience? That 7-year-old. It's not the chronological 30-year-old who's looking at the shit. You know what I'm saying? It's that 7-year-old. So what you do with a situation like that, once again, it's better to do stuff in groups, and then sometimes it's better to do stuff alone. That's on you, how you want to do it, right? But what you do is you look at the situation that occurred. Do not attach yourself to it. Just watch it. Go through all of the emotions that come up with that trauma. Go through each one of the emotions. How did my mom feel? How did that make me feel? How was my father feeling when that shit happened? You know what I'm saying? What did that feel like in my body when he left out the house when I was 7 years old? You know what I'm saying? You want to look at that situation, and you're going to allow all that shit to come up. Now that's going to look like you boohoo crying, boogers coming out your nose and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It's going to look like a little bit of rage, a little bit of anger. It's going to look like some depression. It's going to look like some sadness. But the beautiful thing about understanding the psyche is that it is an organic system, just like the physical body. There are no different set of loopholes and stipulations. It's the same fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? All you have to do is create a hospitable environment to allow the psyche to cleanse itself. Once again, it's a self-cleansing agent. That's why all of us go through bullshit situations that trigger us into showing us the direction. You know what I'm saying? Or pain is just pointing to the way that we need to look at. So what you're going to do with each of those situations is you are literally going to use the breath to cleanse those situations, because the breath is intimately linked to your conscious and your subconscious mind. So as I'm looking at those situations, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to breathe in the situation. I'm going to breathe in my power from the situation. I'm going to release all that shit that doesn't belong to me. I'm going to release every bit of that shit that was that person's, that was not mine. I'm actually reclaiming each fiber of energy that I gave to somebody. You know what I'm saying? And it literally is as simple as that. Each time you have a situation like that, every time a misunderstanding occurs, give yourself some space. Each time an emotional trauma resurfaces in your mind, break away from the job place, break away from whomever, get some space and deeply breathe that shit in. Your conscious mind is the way you travel from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind is through breath. That is your shamanic horse. There is no mystery. You know what I'm saying? Modern psychologists have a thing, they're trying to understand the brain. The motherfucking mystery is in your breath. You know what I'm saying? The breath is what deals with these emotional and mental traumas and blockages. So we use the principle of air to deal with, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on water. So we use the principle of, exactly, reclaim it. We use the principle of the mind to go in. So that's why my name is Neptune on here. You know what I'm saying? Or they say that Christ was a fisherman, or, you know what I'm saying, a fisher of men. Because what you're going to do is, by using the breath with these situations, is you are going to use your trident, like Poseidon, like Neptune, like Jesus ain't have no trident, but whatever. You're going to use that trident of your breath to go into the deep, murky waters of your subconscious mind and fish out that bullshit and bring it up to the light. You know what I'm saying? You're going to bring that shit up to the light. You feel me? It has 3 prongs. It's dealing with 3 different levels. Your conscious mind, subconscious mind, and the blending between the two, the unity, the child that gets created is the superconscious mind. But you are going to be a deep diver, and you're going to be a flyer. You know what I'm saying? You're going to soar the highest heights that you can, and you're going to travel into the deepest depths, explore the deepest depths of your being by using the breath. You know what I'm saying? And that's a tool that you can use for any situation that occurs. And once again, this is such a deep thing, using the breath, because the breath is the only thing that's an involuntary function that you can bring under voluntary control. Now that's deep. That's deep. That's your segue into mastering the physical body. That's your segue into mastering your mind. That's your segue into mastering your emotional nature. That's deep. You know what I'm saying? That's a occult mystery right there, the breath alone. So just to wrap up the water principle, we use the recapitulation, which is the revisiting of the traumatic issues that occurred with you early on in life, and closer to where you're at now. We use the breath to clean it. We look at the situation in an unattached manner, and we saw where somebody took our power away, or where we let our power go, and we reclaim it. We suck that energy back into our being, because the energy body is immortal, and you can free up all the energy that you ever gave to somebody if it truly was yours. You know what I'm saying? And so that is an aspect of the inner child healing work, as well as addressing, deep-seated issues and deep-seated trauma like guilt, shame, abandonment, narcissism, things like that. Okay. And so as far as ruling the water principle, what I want everybody to know is exactly, we love you, family. Yes, pranayama, exactly. The control of the prana. What I want everybody to know is that your emotions are brought under the control of the breath. You can bring your emotions under control through the wise use of color, and you can bring your emotions under control through the wise use of aromas in nature. You know what I'm saying? When you use certain aromas like the frankincense and myrrh or the sandalwood, all of these different aromas they're actually what you would call astral beacons, right? Each of these aromas are like telephone numbers calling up certain entities on the astral plane, because it calls them because it attracts their energy. Remember, all of this stuff works off electromagnetism. You know what I'm saying? So if you put out a pile of shit and you put out a pile of pineapples, you're gonna have different types of creatures. So in the same type of way, when you use certain aromas, it's gonna uplift your emotional nature. So remember, you can bring your emotions under your influence by using color, sound, and aromas. Okay. And Okay, I'm gonna answer that, but I want to be balanced right quick. All right, dude. So I was talking about the principle of water, baptism by water, and how that deals with your emotions and how you can cleanse your emotions through using that water principle or mastering the water. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, you know how people say I'm in my emotions, but the whole science is to be on top of your emotions because you yourself are riding the wave of your emotions to get to your destination. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about how to master your emotions and what you can do to cleanse yourself and redirect stagnant energy.
Mm-hmm. So when I think about water, I think about intuition and dreams. So I'm gonna talk about that because you touch on that.
No,
okay, good. So we're giving some different stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. So as it relates to being able to tap into ascension, trusting our intuition is going to help us tremendously. And because we live in a society where we're constantly second guessing our intuition, we're constantly having so many different things that's trying to deter us from what our true knowing is. Mm-hmm. It's a challenge. You know what I'm saying? It's almost fearful in a sense, if you're not used to it, to actually listen to your intuition. Mm-hmm. But when we tap into our intuition, it opens up so much for us. Because not only is it our higher self sending us messages, but it's also our spiritual core. It's also, you know, the nature, our animal totems, you know, or different geometric shapes that are teaching us or speaking to us on a day-to-day basis. So when we don't listen, we don't tap in, we don't see, we don't engage. I think they just like that. Okay. We can check if you want. If we don't engage, then our intuition starts to kind of blend with fear-based movement. And so what we have to do is get out of that cycle of moving through fear and learn how to differentiate between fear-based movement and intuitive movement. And so since water is most likely dealing with intuition, we can sit with water, we can use water to cleanse us, we can use water to purify us. And every time we intuitively feel something, how do you know when it's your intuition? So anytime we intuitively feel something, we respond to it, we act on it, we move with it, and more symbolic messages come to us. So let me back it up. So how do we know it's the intuition as opposed to our ego or our fear-based feelings? Is that it's usually that quiet voice that tells you something one time, you know, unless it's like really, really like emergent, urgent message that needs to tell you, it's going to keep like boom, 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 like stay away, stop. But no, most of the time, it's just that quiet voice in the background that says, this is what needs to be done, or don't do that at this moment. Stop. Don't wait a minute. Leave just a few minutes later. Don't pick up that. Don't call that person. Don't move. Certain things like that. It's just like this quick little voice that we hear, or quick little vision that we see, or a thing that we taste. It depends on how everything's come to you. And that's by knowing yourself, you'll be able to tell also when it's your intuition speaking to you, because a lot of times our intuitive messages come to us based off of what we resonate to the most. So for me, more inclined to clairaudience. So meaning like listening, I hear it. Internally, I hear it. I like I'm hearing voices on the outside, but internally, I hear something. And I also will get visions, but my visions come through my dreams. So I have literally had dreams where something is about to happen and has happened, or I need to tell somebody something that they need to hear. And I'll call them like, this is what my dream was. And they'll be like, whoa, that is like directly in alignment with what's going on. So you have to depend, it depends on who you are and how you best receive spiritual messages. So by learning to spend some time with yourself, you'll be able to know when it's your intuition and when it's your fear that's trying to talk you out of stuff. Mm. And so I mentioned about dreams, paying attention to your dreams. Your dreams are first of all, your dreams are not gonna lie to you. They're gonna really reveal what's going on in the subconscious mind. Whether you are overwhelmed about something, where you're fearful about something, whether you are in a toxic situation, toxic environment, doing detrimental things to your body, to your mind, any of those things, your dreams is going to reveal to you, because there's no boundaries, there's no fakeness, there's no veils, there's no mirage. It's going to give it to you in so many different scenarios. It's like your dreams will sometimes come to you like a show, and it's showing you a show, whether it's with you, actually you, or with people that you know, and the people that you'll see in the dreams are going to represent aspects of yourself, as well as different values or meanings that you have for certain ways of being. So let's just say, for example, you see your grandma in your dream, and to you, your grandma represents wisdom and understanding, and then you might see your uncle who might have done something wrong to you, and so he represents that pain and suffering that you have been feeling, so you have to break down your dreams down in like so many different levels. In order to interpret, whether you've seen different numbers, what does those numbers represent on a conscious level, but also what do those numbers represent in your life? What colors are you seeing? What environment are you in? So whenever I'm dealing with intuition or needed to tap into like water goddesses, and like, because water is my element, that's so much cleansing and happenings and magic happen in that space for me. Possibly just because I'm a Pisces, but also it's my element. I feel good all up in the waters. You know what I'm saying? So I'll have dreams as being a mermaid. I have dreams swimming with dolphins and getting messages from the dolphins. I'll be submerged in water. I've literally been submerged in water where I thought I couldn't go. I was scared to keep going because it was dark. There was no light there. And just to notice that I was the light coming down into it. So those things are powerful for us and help cleanse us, because there's so much of our waters we need to discover. And there's so much of our waters that we need to explore. And the more that we go to dive deep into seeing it, the more we can remove, the more we can also become. You know what I'm saying? Because somewhere down there deep is you, the true essence of you. And so, which is why I think somebody mentioned about, do we just, do it with the dark just so we can get to the light? But no, it is balance. So many different creation stories start with darkness, because that's where everything has birthed from. You know what I'm saying? So we're scared of going back to our source when we don't need to be, and it might be some crazy things on top of it, but deep down below is the most beautiful thing you'll ever encounter, because it is you. And so in order for us to even ascend, we have to be able to, like you said, because I really love what you said, taking that trident and going down there and scooping things out in order to be able to get to that space.
Shit is fishy. Shit mad fishy.
Yeah.
Mad fishy in your waters.
And you want to go in there and clean it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my piece on water. Just talking about magic, intuition, and dreams. Pay attention to your dreams, guys. They're telling you something. And if you ever want somebody, everybody wants somebody to bounce back off of with your dreams, you can always hit me up. Sometimes it's easier to interpret your dreams with somebody else. You can, of course, do them for yourself, but a lot of times, because we don't want to face certain things, we have a harder time interpreting things that are being told to us, symbolically or through, our dreams, which is why it pops up in our dreams, because it's like, hello, you need to look at this, hello, you got tsunamis going on in your dream and don't want to recognize in your conscious life that you're overwhelmed and there's a lot happening, you know what I'm saying? And you need to take control over that before it overpowers you. So it's good to bounce back your dreams with somebody, especially if they are understanding of symbols and stuff like that, so they can reflect back to you what you need to be heard that you may not want to hear in that moment in time, that you may be a little reluctant to reveal or admit to yourself.
Right. So that was earth. We did water. And so Okay. Yeah, that was good for that water. All right, so now we move on to air. Okay. So air is symbolic of your mental, of your mind. Okay. So the baptism by air deals with purification and organization of your mind. Okay. And the quickest way to keep your mind under control or do mind control for yourself is to understand that you are not your emotions and understand that you are not your mind. You know what I'm saying? Once again, we use these vehicles, and these bodies to fulfill the guiding will of the self that's within. You know what I'm saying? So that the self can express itself through the mind or through the emotions. But you cannot properly use your mind unless you have purified it and organized it. Which brings us to the next point, is that one of the fastest ways to cleanse your mind is by sound or silence, right? And I'm gonna show you what I mean by this. I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean by this. Sorry. So just listen to this, right? What you gonna notice? Matter of fact, just listen. So we said that sound is one of the quickest ways that you can bring your mind under influence. That joint's still humming. So what we said was that sound and silence is one of the quickest ways to bring the mind under control. And the reason for this is because your mind obviously works off of frequencies and vibrations. But once you hear a sound, there's something called entrainment. Or if anybody's ever seen this experiment of a metronome, you can lay one metronome next to 5 other ones, and over time, it's going to become entrained to the one predominant metronome. So the same principle happens with your mind. When you have a geometric principle that's being activated in nature or by yourself, your mind will literally attune itself to the vibrational frequency of what you hear. And so what this means is that by saying sacred mantras every so often, or sacred mantras and things of that nature, you can literally cleanse your mind. You feel me? It's the story of a mystic yogi, and I think the Villanagari Mountains in India. And he said that it was some white Western guy that came to him, and he said, "I want to be your disciple. I want to learn the ways. You know what I'm saying? I want to learn the secret knowledge and stuff like that." So what the yogi told him is, he said, "Look, I'm gonna give you a mantra. Come back after 3 years, right?" And so after he sorry, over here confused because I hear the children running out the door and shit. But yeah. So anyways, the first thing that this yogi did was he gave this Western man a mantra. He said, if you sound this mantra off for the next 3 years, then you will be worthy of coming to me. You know what I'm saying? And the lesson here was that he gave him a mantra. I think it was Om Namah Shivaya, which basically is talking about Shiva. You know what I'm saying? There's no higher reality. There's no higher reality than Shiva. So basically, what happens is once you repeat a mantra or the name of a deity time after time after time after time, all your thoughts become deity. All you can think about is deity. All you speak is deity. Over time, it cleanses your aura of all the negative thought forms that you may have. You know what I'm saying? Low vibrational thoughts of doubt and self-sabotaging thoughts that you aren't good enough. You know what I'm saying? You aren't pretty enough. You aren't smart enough. You aren't short enough. You don't got enough money. You don't have enough artistry in your life. You know what I'm saying? You don't have enough soul. All these self-sabotaging thoughts basically go to nil. They go to zero. You don't have any more after you repeat mantras time after time after time. Because all that's in your mind is God. All you can see is God. You know what I'm saying? And that's the nature of that Sufi mystic quote, La ilaha illallah. There is no reality other than Allah. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that in a religious sense. Think about it in a universal sense. All I see is God. All I see is God. Or all I see is the source. You know what I'm saying? Or all I see is pure, undifferentiated consciousness. You know what I'm saying? Now, a being who takes that thought, that seed thought in their mind and moves about reality operates vastly different than somebody who doesn't. Somebody who has a concept of themselves based upon what another person says. You know what I'm saying? Thinking that you're a chicken when really you're an eagle. So the beautiful thing about sound and mantras and affirmations is that over time, they actually make they make your inner world more beautiful. They unfold your inner world. You know what I'm saying? All of you guys have seen that experiment where somebody hits a frequency and then there's a geometric pattern that forms. Now, those frequencies are the same as your words. So over time, the more you say it to yourself, the more your inner world blossoms. That's just like a flower. You know what I'm saying? We got flowers right here. But anyways, that's just like a flower. If you have a set of flowers in a room on a table, if you come into that room and you say, I love you, you are beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Share your vibration with me. That flower, they're going to open up over time. They're not going to weep. If you don't speak to the flower, if you don't speak to yourself, your inner consciousness is going to weaken. It's going to atrophy. You know what I'm saying? And then there's going to be more room for self-sabotaging thoughts like doubt and self-defeat and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So one of the main principles that we use to develop the powers of the mind is sound, invoking sound. Also, what we use is silence, because just as much as we need to talk, we need to have some quiet solitude and some contemplation that we're actually dealing with the whole of our internal world. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for people to be silent because what happens is you have to face yourself. You know what I'm saying? You have to face yourself, and not too many people can face themselves. And so that's why people run from silence, because they run from themselves. Now, it's been said that the self is silence. You know what I'm saying? You got two states of being, to be simple. You got the earthly state of being and you got the heavenly state of being. You know what I'm saying? Speech is to manifest in the created world. Matter of fact, everything in this world was created by sound. You know what I'm saying? That was the tool. But as soon as you are silent, you end up shifting your frequency inwards, meaning you shift your frequency into heaven. So that is when the silence needs to take place so that the conversation can be had between you and your soul. You know what I'm saying? So the principle of air, and this is another important understanding, that there are many different eyes within your castle. There are many different me's and little entities that want to live within your state of being. You know what I'm saying? But there is only one superior eye that actually should live in your castle. You feel me? You got an eye that loves to have sex. You got an eye that loves to eat food. You got an eye that loves to be ego. You got an eye that loves to be all of these different type of things, but that's not the authentic eye. You know what I'm saying?
Your ego is fragmented.
Your ego is fragmented. We have so many different sub-personalities that it's crazy. You feel me? But the beautiful thing is to know what's speaking when you hear something. Know who is talking. You feel me? If you say something like, I am tired or I am hungry, that's not your highest self. Because I am is. I am is not associated with bodily states of being or mental and emotional states of being. I am is complete and lofty and celestial and whole in its state of being. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, if you want to get into that too.
About air?
Yeah, or you chilling or whatever you want?
I just wanted to say one quick little thing that I was thinking of when we think about air. Mm-hmm. Like, our beings give off an air. You know what I'm saying? And it's in order for us to cleanse our air, we have to, do all the things that we mentioned already. Cleanse our body, cleanse our mind. You know what I'm saying? Using the elements to purify who we are. And so as we go level up on each of those categories, then our air begins to change. You know what I'm saying? When we are stuck in a cycle of trauma and pain and suffering, our air is very distorted. It's also very dark, you know what I'm saying? And it's mucky. You know, it's just like if we in a building full of smoke. Right. You know, but once we start actually doing the work, then the air becomes like the essence of beauty. It's like a floral essence, you know. Right. Just like at certain times of the day, flowers give off their smell. You know what I'm saying? The same thing happens with us. When we have tapped into ascension or evolving and developing and growing and refining ourselves, our air, our essence, our smell, it changes. And it's not just the physical smell, it's our spiritual smell. You know what I'm saying? The air of our aura. You know what I'm saying? And so when people breathe us in, we want them to be breathing in
that fragrant aroma.
Exactly. An aroma of love, kindness, compassion, understanding, and divine wisdom.
Somebody, remember that somebody said, why do you think they call it ascension? It's your scent.
Exactly.
You can smell good to high heaven. You know what I'm saying?
And it's something that you cannot fake. That's why we bring it all back all over again. We cannot fake these different changes within yourself. You know, because you can say something or do something on a physical level and people might believe it if they're not tapped into different levels. But once you start getting into the ascension, true ascension, it starts to now take over your auric field. You know what I'm saying? It starts going into the mental body. You know what I mean? It starts going higher and higher. And so now even the deities above are now recognizing the changes in your air. And they come to smell you. Exactly. So when I think of air, I think of that. Like the air of us changing. And since we are in our own being, we're now breathing in that air as well. Not just other external beings, but ourselves are breathing in our own air. And if our air is full of, like I said before, distorted energy, chaotic energy, or just low vibratory energy, we're breathing it in and cycling back into our lives. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's why it's so essential that we change, do that inner transformation so that the air that is around us is of love and beauty, so that when we breathe it in, that's what's being cycled back into our lives.
Facts. That's real. And that's why I like what Queen was saying about dreams. You know what I'm saying? Because like dreams are so beautiful because you cannot fake shit in a dream. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us are actually being given initiation in our dreams. It's not happening in some physical temple with groups of people together, you know what I'm saying, in the name of fraternal or soror organizations. It's happening in the dream, because in the dream world, you can't fake what level of consciousness you are on. You are automatically always going to be thrown right back on the resources that you have acquired spiritually. You know what I'm saying? And so this is what all of this is about. It's actually literally the science of what you can take with you when you die, what you can take with you past death. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
that's the riches. We're so worried trying to acquire riches of money and material-based things, but the gold nuggets are.
Man, for real. And you just said it.
The gold nuggets are the essentials of our lives, you know what I'm saying? So that whether we come back to this lifetime or we're going to a higher dimension, you know what I'm saying, it's because of those gifts, the true gifts that we've acquired in this life.
Exactly. You know? And if you think about it, like people have the same external goals, right? A car, house, money. You know what I'm saying? And a family, right? But spiritually speaking, your car is saying that spiritually, these people want a vehicle to maneuver some of these higher worlds and higher realms and these planes. They want to be able to maneuver around these higher worlds, these higher planes. A house is saying that you want a spiritual abode. You know what I'm saying? And this is basically that. This is like it's like a cancer, like zodiacal wise, it's a cancer affirmation. I build a lighted house and dwell within. The crab, slugs, or snails are some of the only creatures that actually carry their home with them wherever they go. And this is your story. This is your story. You carry your home with you wherever you go. So people say, I want a car, I want a house. No, you just want vehicles so that you can travel into the mystical, paradisical lands within your own psyche or within the higher spiritual planes. You know what I'm saying? You want a house so that you feel at home everywhere you go, at home wherever you go. You know what I'm saying? You want to feel the warmth, the sacredness, the love and fire of home wherever you're at. You know what I'm saying? People and even family, you know what I'm saying? They want a family. And this is a deeper spiritual longing, basically showing that you belong to a vast spiritual community of beings, ascended masters, ascended beings, disincarnated intelligences, animal totems, animal spirits, all of these that ride in your spiritual court. And don't forget about the ancestors. This is saying that you want to be connected to a legacy that is infinite and eternal. You know what I'm saying? So all of these lower earthly goals, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. You know what I'm saying? But we have to understand what their spiritual counterparts are, because they are spiritual realities. You know what I'm saying? So it's very real. And so just to get back onto the air, because we got to finish up the air actually. But one of the ways that you can rule the mind and organize it and use it to your nature is by using, obviously, is by staying present and being aware. By being present, being aware, cultivating that permanent vigilance, cultivating the watcher. You know what I'm saying? So that it's literally as simple as it sounds. When a situation happens, just watch it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Don't label it. Don't label it. Don't label it. The minute something happens and you say, oh, this is that, you block yourself off from the greater perception of what it actually was. If you just watch it and you allow it to occur and let it be free, you actually create space within you. And the more you do that, the space expands. The more you do that, that gap of your understanding is going to expand infinitely until you become one with everything that you perceive. You know what I'm saying? There's not a difference between me and Key or me and this rock. You've allowed so much space and understanding and perception in your viewpoint that you've merged with that which you've observed. Now that's quantum physics 101. You know what I'm saying? The relationship of the observer upon the observed. You know what I'm saying? But the way that you can help rule the plane of the mind within yourself is to be present with everything you are doing. That means if I'm reaching for the Palo Santo, I'm going to be totally committed and dedicated to reaching for it. That's my only goal, is to get the Palo Santo. I'm not going to reach for the Palo Santo. Oh, I got to feed my kids. They so hungry. Damn, what am I going to cook for dinner? Ooh, you know what I'm saying? Nah, I'm not bringing none of that. I'm not bringing none of that into whatever I'm doing. And that's the thing about Ascension. Ascension requires discipline. I'm not going to make it seem like it's some lofty, hard-ass work. And I'm not going to make it seem like it's just as easy as, oh, just breathe and take in nature. And it's as simple as that. It's really not. The beautiful thing about it is because it transcends the duality of easy and hard, is that it's all that shit. It's all that shit. You know what I'm saying? There are schools of thought that's saying we've already arrived. What is there to do? You know what I'm saying? Again, that's a half truth. That's a half truth. Because yes, we got the self within, and the self is already eternal. The self is already immortal. The self is already present. But there is still work to be done, or else your ass wouldn't have came to this earth.
Right.
It's earth for a reason. It's soil. It's dirt. It's development. It's growth. You know what I'm saying? And so basically, we need to learn how to cleanse and purify and organize all of these vehicles under the rulership of our spirit within. You know what I'm saying? And so, yes, so as far as the principle of the air, the way that you can cultivate the air or the mind is through presence and through focus, like focusing on a yantra. And I'm pretty sure all of y'all know what a yantra is, but the more and the more that you focus on a yantra, or let's say a candle that's lit, or any anything that you want to contemplate on. The more you focus on that, the more it's going to draw you into that fourth dimensional experience of what it actually is and how it is of you. You know what I'm saying? How it's a part of you. So
For the final part?
Yeah, for the final part. For the final element, fire. And I was going to say fire is really interesting because the fire element doesn't necessarily need to be purified. You know what I'm saying? In fact, the fire element, which is spirit or the self within you, is the one that does the purification. It actually, only thing you need to do is learn how to infuse this fire into your bodies, into your mind, into your emotional body, into your physical body. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so it's really about infusing this fire. And the way that you do it is based upon that mystical axiom when people say, prepare your temple for the second coming of Christ. Meaning that light that goes through a window, it's going to be hampered if it's a dirty window. You have to clean the window so the light can shine perfectly through the window. So the light can come perfectly through the prism of your bodies or the perfect prism of your soul. You know what I'm saying? So that's why the great work deals with cleanliness and detoxing, because cleanliness truly is next to godliness. You already are God. You already are infinite. You already are immortal. You already are everything that is. We just have to peel the layers back and become naked. We have to become naked. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why even in the Bible, like once again, not on a religious tip, but even in the Bible, when they added a layer of their consciousness, they said, oh, we're naked. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, how the fuck did you know you were naked? Because you added a layer. You know what I'm saying? So you saw something, you saw from outside of yourself, but you knew that you were naked. What we're talking about, because the spiritual reality sits upside down to this plane, is becoming naked once again. We have way too much clothes and way too much stuff that's suffocating us. And so the path, once again, to the creator, or the path to the spark, or the bridge of it all, is in relinquishing shit, giving stuff up. You know what I'm saying? It's about releasing and letting go. Because you cannot fly, or the soul cannot accumulate enough velocity to escape the gravitational field of this planet if you have too much baggage. That's what makes you earthbound. That's what makes you a ghost. You want to know what a ghost is? A ghost is somebody who lived their life. This is just one example: drinking and smoking, too much sex. They participated in that shit so much that upon death, when their consciousness split, because it's a division, when you die, it's a divide. You know what I'm saying? A portion of your energy splits and stays close to the stuff that you used to do. Once again, because that was your dominant life program. You know what I'm saying? But if you had become adjusted to working like you don't even have a physical body on this plane, then you obviously would travel into higher different planes. But a ghost is simply somebody who let addictions consume them. Your cravings are your gravings. You know what I'm saying? They bring you right back down to earth. But yeah. Go ahead, Blue.
Number 5?
Oh, well, not really. I was going to wait for you to, you know what I'm saying? Say whatever you need.
Okay, finish on fire.
Okay. So with fire, fire basically it's just the mastery of the fire is really dealing with all the other elements. Once you clean everything in your physical body, or you organize your physical body, you organize your mental and your emotional nature, the light can shine perfectly through. And this is the fire, the perfect contact with your soul. You know what I'm saying? This is why mystery schools and higher esoteric orders was established on the planet. You know what I'm saying? It was to bring, because it's basically, it's like 3 types of people. You got an animal human, you got a human, and you got a superhuman. We all know animal humans. You know what I'm saying? I can go to the fucking grocery store right now, to the corner store, and I can point out an animal human. There's nothing spooky about this shit. You know what I'm saying? I know humans. You know what I'm saying? It's not a higher spiritual impulse, but they've cultivated some degree of morality within their life. You know what I'm saying? And then there are superhumans. So the ancient temples and the mystery schools were solely dedicated to making humans superhuman and bringing them into that superhuman state. You know what I'm saying? That's why they dealt with things like initiation, because you had, and the theme around the initiation was death. You know what I'm saying? Not physical death, but spiritual death, because you had to kill yourself, or levels of you had to die until you became resurrected so that you can fully see, right? And so the main thing about the mystery schools is that when they made a novice or an aspirant, an initiate, what was actually happening, just to be clear, is that they were putting you in contact with your own soul. So the soul is the initiate. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has the soul within them. You know what I'm saying? But actualizing that soul makes you the initiate. But yeah, so the mystery school was about connecting you to your soul and then moving on this earth, moving on this plane as that soul, as that sentient, celestial son of heaven. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so that's all I have. Oh, let me go bring that.
Oh.
Yeah, let me try to run down there.
Okay. The computer's about to die, y'all. So hopefully we get this last message in before it does. But we are getting close to the end anyway. But just to add on with what he was saying as it relates to fire, is that fire is the energy that resides in everything. It's the source, you know what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of times you'll see, there we go, cultures or religions that revere the sun because it represents the fire, you know, the burning light that resides within us all. And so when we remind ourselves of the fire that's within us, we are able to ascend to higher dimensions. Excuse me, children yelling in the background. And fire also helps to clean, to purify. It also helps to grow. When we think about the sun, and the reason why I'm bringing in the aspect of the sun is sometimes fire gets a negative connotation. You know, like in the Bible, fire is looked at as something that consumes and and makes you suffer in pain of all days of your life, all days of your sinful life, you know, but that's not what fire is all about. Yes, on the physical plane, fire can destroy, you know what I'm saying? Just like we said earlier, that there is that one, the higher lofty aspect of yourself that can gain knowledge, and then the demonic aspect of yourself that can gain knowledge, and both can use that knowledge in two totally different directions. So it's which one are you going to be listening to and moving to, you know what I'm saying? And which one is going to be leading, you know? So when it relates to fire, yes, fire can destroy, but it also can purify and cleanse, and can also help things to grow. You know, the sun is beaming its light. All plant kingdoms are like, they're like, yes, give me that light, give me those rays of vibrancy, you know, fill me up with your love, which is why they turn green, you know, and that is the plant's food, you know, that energy, that source, and then the animals eat it, the insects eat it, and we eat it, and we're not taking on that solar consciousness, that fire within us. We're being reminded of that fire that's within us. And when we tap into that fire within us, there's nothing and no one or anything that can stop us from living out our purpose. Because that is all that this life is about. That's all. This vehicle is just here. Yes, it's engaging in desires and having fun and doing all this kind of stuff. But this soul is here to work. And the soul is here to be reminded of itself. It's the source wanted to manifest itself in so many different directions to just experience, you know, and to be able to put itself into situations to see if it would still remember who it is. You know what I'm saying? So when we tap into that fire consciousness, it's asking us to remember who you are. And yes, think about Lion King. Remember who you are. Remember. Right. But that means, like, let it be that sounding voice in the back of your head. Like, remember who you are. Tap into your fire. Tap into your vibrancy. Tap into your vitality of the essence of all true divinity. You know? And move past just this one state of this one track mind. There's so many different ways to look at the elements and use the elements to help propel us to grow and develop, so that our soul can come from being encased within this vehicle and move on to something else. You know what I'm saying? That's what it came here to do, and so that's pretty much all I wanted to add in there about fire, just changing our concept of fire to something that is lively.
Yep.
And a creator.
Yeah. And that was good too, because when I was talking about fire, it was more like, all right, it's kind of already here, you know what I'm saying? But that was so important to say, like, just to draw on that as an inspiration. And like, you make fire your constant preoccupation. Because if you think light, that's what you're going to be, you know what I'm saying? So moving through creation with love, all that you're going to end up doing essentially is giving light to humanity, or becoming a light bearer.
Being the torch.
Being the torch bearers.
Exactly, being the lighthouse.
Yeah. All right. And so I was going to say, one way that you can build a conscious relationship with fire is to sit with the fire. Get in the habit of making fires outside, or even if you can't do all of that per se, lighting some candles and meditating upon the fire. You know what I'm saying?
Incense, it's Palo Santo, the sage.
Exactly. And so we are just about to finish, but some final sentiments is, all right, so everything with the ageless wisdom and all of the knowledge that's out on the planet is essentially here so that you can improve creation, because you are married to existence. You know what I'm saying? So being married to existence, you have to exalt existence. So one of the final points that I wanted to get at is that in order to assimilate the higher energies, in order to assimilate everything that you've read in your life, everything that you've heard in your life, in order to assimilate all of that, all that's needed is this highest spiritual truth. And the highest spiritual truth is selfless service, right? Because we know people who read a lot of books and who know a lot of stuff and all of this and that, but when it comes to living it, they can't, because sometimes a lot of knowledge suffocates our people. And the way that you assimilate energy is through selfless service. You know what I'm saying? That's divinity in motion. That's being like the tree kingdom. The tree kingdom trees nourish infinite worlds. They have their branches extended up into the air, their roots tucked firmly into the earth. What I'm saying to you guys, or us, is that we are inverted trees. Our roots are in heaven. Our branches extend down to this earth. Yet we nourish infinite kingdoms. We nourish infinite worlds with our blessings, our talents, and our gifts, which are presents to be given to all of Earth's children, all of Earth's inhabitants, and to each and every inhabitant of all kingdoms. You know what I'm saying? So selfless service is one of the highest teachings. And if you ever see a teacher or a teaching and they're not talking about selfless service, run. If all of this shit doesn't, at the end of the day, so where does selfless service come in at? Run. Just get out of there. You know what I'm saying? And so that was a major point. And then another thing too, to basically purify your energy on all levels, is to take spiritual baths and deal with cleansing your aura every single day. Okay?
The last bit I want to say is about what you just said about running if somebody's not teaching about selfless service, is that a lot of times we'll see people, talking and saying that, this is only for certain people to get, you know what I'm saying? That this knowledge or this wisdom or tapping into the ethers or, taking a page from the Akashic records is only for a certain set of people, and so they only want to give you what they want to give you and hold the rest to themselves, you know what I'm saying? And at a point in time in human history, that was needed, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
There needed to be this hierarchy of people assimilating knowledge and wisdom. You know what I'm saying? But then on the flip side of that, people use that as a way to manipulate and control others, which is why certain religions were birthed. You know what I'm saying? Because it was an indoctrination to control minds. You know what I'm saying? And take away people's responsibility and accountability for themselves. So that they can look to other external beings for their salvation. You know, so that they can surrender all of themselves to them, to that power, that external power, and lose their power from themselves. You know what I'm saying? And become powerless. And so now when we look at the Aquarian age, it's like almost as the universe, not almost, but like the universe is saying, no, this knowledge, this wisdom, the ability to ascend and tap into our psychic abilities and healing and all this stuff is for everyone. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why it's all out there for us to gain this information. You know what I'm saying? So when we're exchanging it here with you all, you're going to be exchanging with people you go through based off of how it resonates with you. You know what I'm saying? And it's feeling within yourself to be able to apply everything that you have learned. You know what I'm saying? When you can. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not easy. There's definitely challenges and obstacles in applying all of that you've learned, you know, and walking with wisdom. You know what I'm saying? But when we look at the universe is calling for all of us to ascend. The universe is calling for all of us to evolve. It's calling for us to tap into this information. You know what I'm saying? And nobody here is special. It ain't, I am the coming of, you know, not, I am the Christ that came back to save you all. No, you are the Christ who came to save yourself. You know what I'm saying? The second coming of Christ is that when you first came here, as we were all part of the source, that was our first knowing of ourselves. The second knowing is after all of the layers that have been put on of us, when we get back to the true self, that's your second coming to yourself.
That's fire.
So that's what this is all about. That's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? So just be mindful so that's why you're saying, you know, to do selfless service, to be able to do for others just outside of yourself. You know what I mean? Because when you do for others, you are doing for yourself, essentially. You know what I mean? When you're giving your talents, you're showing that you're thankful for the gifts that have been bestowed upon you. You know what I'm saying? And you're showing honor and respect to yourself. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to be a hoarder. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be an internal hoarder. You know, physical hoarders keep things in their homes. You know what I'm saying? Just piles and piles of things that do not use them. And you don't want to be an internal hoarder. You don't want to have your gifts and talents and specialties and psychic abilities and never use them, because then you become a hoarder. You know, so you have to be able to utilize them and share them with the world and share them with other people that you come across. You know what I'm saying? Share them with yourself, even just in solitude, you know, playing music with yourself, sitting in meditation with yourself, speaking to yourself. You know, all of these things are going to help us to ascend. All of these things are going to help us to be more refined beings. So that was my last piece that I wanted to say. Did you want to say something else? Or are you good? Because I know you guys have been riding with us for an hour and a half. I mean, I really thank you. I know, right? Thank you for your energy, your time, because it is the most valuable thing that we can give. You know what I'm saying? Is our time to something. You know?
Yeah. So I guess just the last part. This is just my final sentiments. Is with Ascension. You know, there's no way to overthink it. You know, it just really deals with mastering where you're at. It deals with mastering where you're at on each of those levels. You know what I'm saying? If you are listening to your heart and living from the heart and cleansing and cleaning yourself and dealing with all of your relationships, making so that all of them flow more harmoniously, you're going to ascend. Because as we said in the beginning of the video, we are jacking our energy to the earth's consciousness, obviously by eating foods and taking care of our bodies and taking care of our emotions and our minds and having right relationships. When we are jacked into the earth's electromagnetic grid system and consciousness, we are going to expand and travel into as many dimensions as the earth will itself. So it's nothing to overthink. And the key thing is to develop a conscious relationship with all of the elements. develop a conscious relationship with fire, develop a conscious relationship with water, develop a conscious relationship with air, develop a conscious relationship with earth. You know what I'm saying? And this isn't too out there spiritually speaking, because we're still talking about developing a conscious relationship with your money, because that's still earth, that's still your resources. And then the most highest, the fire, is dealing with your cosmic connection, that source that gives you light. You know what I'm saying? So basically, yes, that's pretty much it. And we're gonna end this with the prayer from Boo.
Me.
Even though Boo don't know it. But yes, we're gonna end it with a prayer, and then I'm gonna sound off some sacred instruments so that you guys can go on your merry way and go ahead and finish blissing creation like I know that y'all do.
All right. Well, I ask you all to close your eyes and take a deep breath with me. And I affirm that we all may be released from our traumas, that we find the solace within our hearts to forgive ourselves and those who we may have perceived have hurt us. May we all find the beauty within ourselves and things that we may encounter in our daily walks. May we relinquish ourselves from being resistant and accepting to what is. May we all find the ability to ascend from what was, because there is more. And we must tap into it. We are being called to do it. And we're thankful that we're being called, and we are showing our honor and respect by listening. Sure. Aho. And so it is.
Accept.
Y te taquimas. And that you all have a peaceful, blessed day. Thank you.